Yeah. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shamsundar, Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Nrsingadev, Bhagwan Jagannath, Pradesh, Gaunitai, Tulsimani, Haridasa, Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembly devotees. So, continuing with the Canto 6, chapter 14, we at the end of chapter 13, we saw how Vrittasura was killed by Indra, and how Indra had to suffer the sinful reaction of killing a Brahmin. So now we're going to see who actually Vrittasura was in his previous life, because Vrittasura actually was a wonderful devotee of the Lord. So this chapter is entitled King Chitraketu's Lamentation. As even demigods and sages who are pure but hardly ever perform devotional service, Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami, how then Vrittasura, who was born in a demonic family and giving trouble to others, could possibly be a devotee? This is a really interesting point, that even demigods and sages who are pure may not be able to perform bhakti yoga. But Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj was surprised. Hang on, Vrittasura, he was born in a demoniac family, but he was a pure devotee. How is that possible? Out of millions of liberated souls, hardly one is a devotee of Lord Narayan. In this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms. Amongst these living entities, very few are human beings. So let's have a look at this. Unlimited living beings, few human beings interested in dharma, karma, and their karmis. Some more, well, even fewer desire liberation from this world. Even fewer are liberated souls without any material attachments. And even fewer are those who really understand the true meaning of liberation, mukti. And the number of devotees of Narayan and Krishna, very, very few. Very, very few. This is a bit of an example. Among them, few are interested in the following religious principles. Out of many people who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation. Among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve it, giving up material attachments to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, children. So number 4, very few. Number 5, among liberated persons, hardly one. So even amongst those who achieve liberation, hardly one can actually understand the true meaning of liberation. That's 5. And what does that mean? Well, there are different types of liberation. There's the liberation where one can have the same type of body as the Lord, same sort of features as the Lord, can stay with the Lord, like that. So even those who are liberated may not fully appreciate these aspects. And amongst many millions of who are perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee. So if we can just see the proportion of those who are humans and who are actually performing bhakti yoga or devotees of Krishna, very, 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 very few, very fortunate souls. Sukadeva Goswami then narrated the history of Vrittasura's previous birth, which he had heard from Vyasdev, Narad, and Devala. In his previous life, Vrittasura was a great king named Chitraketu of the province of Surasen. He had 10 million wives for procreation, i.e., having children, not to have sex with them, not to have sense enjoyment. But out of the 10 million, not one could have children. This is a really unfortunate situation. Therefore, in spite of his youth, wealth, knowledge, and high birth, he was morose. Who is going to take over the kingdom? His concern was, who will take over the kingdom when I am old? Because he was a very, very, obviously with 10 million wives, he must have been very, very wealthy king. Once, the powerful sage Angira visited the palace of Chitraketu, who was received with worship and offerings. So Chitraketu was a natural devotee of the Lord. Humble devotee, although a king with very great riches. After the sage was seated comfortably and complimented the king on his humility and hospitality, he inquired how Chitraketu's kingdom, citizens and wives were doing. He observed the unhappiness in Chitraketu's face. Chitraketu revealed, even though his life is full of opulence, he was unhappy due to not having a son. His position was like a hungry man not satisfied with a garland. Chitraketu requested assistance from the sage to save him and his forefathers descend to hell. Because without a son or a daughter, who's going to be there to do the pindan ceremony to stop one from going to hell? Mercifully, Angira thus performed a sacrifice by offering oblations of sweet rice to Twashta, the demigod, to get a son. So this is the same Twashta who also produced Vrittasura. Angira offered the remnants of the sacrifices to Chitraketu's first wife, Kritadyuti. So Angira gave all of the mercy to Kritadyuti. This sage predicted that he would have a son, Chitraketu would have a son, that would cause him great joy, but also great sorrow. Then the sage left. Now, Chitraketu heard the sage say that the son will give him great joy. He also heard that the son will give him great unhappiness. But he didn't care as long as he had a son. So he ignored the aspect of unhappiness. Kritadyuti became pregnant, delivered a beautiful baby boy. The beneficent King Chitraketu, to increase the reputation, opulence, and longevity of his son, gave charity of gold, silver, garments, ornaments, villages, horses, elephants, as well as 60 crores, wow, of cows. That's 600 million cows. Sure. Chitraketu's affection for his son increased day by day. So he was really happy, joyful. Chitraketu's love for Kritadyuti increased, and he forgot about the other wives. Being neglected by their husband and having no children of their own, they burned in envy, having lost their intelligence and becoming hard-hearted and intolerant of the king's neglect. They gave poison to the child. This is really horrible thing to do. Unaware of the sinful acts of her co-wives, King Kritadyuti sent her maidservant to bring her son. But when the servant went, she saw the child had died. Hearing the servant's loud cries, the queen rushed to her son's son who had suddenly died. As she fell unconscious, all the palace residents came and also began to cry. The king, full of lamentation, fell to the ground. The queen then chastises providence and the laws of karma. My lord, you may say that there is no law that a son must outlive the father, And since everyone lives and dies according to their karma, then no one will raise children with affection. Since you have cut the bonds of affection that compel a parent to raise his child, you appear inexperienced and unintelligent. So the queen, of course, was very upset. And she wanted to take out her anger. And she did, upon providence and the law of karma. And the Lord, effectively. Then she tried to call her son back, tried to wake him up and call him to drink milk. The king then joins the wife in crying loudly. At that time, Angira Muni came, accompanied by Narad Muni. So this scene must have been a devastating scene. So much lamentation. And then the great sages, Angira and Narad, come on the scene. Chapter 15. Oops. Sorry. Okay. Chapter 15 is entitled, The Saints Narad and Angira instruct King Chitraketu. Why King Chitraketu, overcome by lamentation, laying like a dead body at the side of the dead body of his son? The two great sages, Narad and Angira, came, wanting to revive Chitraketu's spiritual consciousness, and they inquired as follows. What relationship does the dead body for which you lament have with you? That's really a very sharp, cutting remark. You are lying next to your dead body of your son. How is he related to you? You're lamenting for him. That's really very, very heavy and instructive. What relationship do you have with him? Do you think this relationship as father and son existed before? Does it truly exist now? Will it continue in the future? Then they gave him transcendental knowledge. So these questions were asked of Chitraketu to make him understand that any relationship in this material world is very temporary. And there are no guarantees about the longevity of those relationships. Then they gave him transcendental knowledge. As particles of sand come together and are separated by waves, so the embodied living entities come together and are separated by the force of time. When seeds are sown in the ground, they sometimes grow into plants and sometimes do not. Therefore, one should not lament over artificial relationship of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord. So this might sound very callous. They're sages after all. They have no relationships with wife or children because they're renounced. So these comments are very cutting, very heavy comments, right? To a grahastha, to a householder who has commitments and children. But this is the truth. This is the truth. So these comments are heavy, no doubt about it. But sometimes we need some heavy operation on us to wake us up, to cure us of our illusion. Before our birth, this situation did not exist, and after our death, it will no longer exist. Therefore, our situation now is temporary, although it is not false. It is a real relationship, father-son, but it's temporary. You're attached to something that is temporary. Why are you lamenting something which is temporary, which is artificial, in the sense that it will not last beyond this body? And ultimately, everything is controlled by the Supreme Lord. Why are you lamenting? He's in charge. As the elements of the material body are eternal, the living entity who appears through these material elements is also eternal. Of course, the body is not eternal. The body will come and go. But the elements that make up the body, earth, water, fire, air, ether, they're eternal. They'll always exist. But then when they take shape in a form of a body, we have to understand our connection is not with that body. because that body is simply material and it's temporary. Oops. Yeah. Okay. So Chitraketu became enlightened by the instructions of the sages. So this is a great privilege, a great boon offered by the sages. These are great sages. And Chitraketu was also a great devotee, great king. So he understood immediately, and he woke up from his lamentation. He inquired as to their identity, giving examples of perfected souls and glorifying Vaishnavas who wander on the surface of the globe just to benefit materialistic people. Chitraketu begs them to ignite the torch of knowledge to save him. The sages introduce themselves and then tell Chitraketu that they have come to relieve him from the lamentation of the loss of something material. Angira explains that when he came the first time, he did not give King Chitraketu transcendental knowledge. And why? Because the king would not have understood. His mind was too absorbed in material things. He wanted a son. Nothing else would have done. So any transcendental knowledge would have been completely lost if it was given to him. So Angira didn't give him anything. But he created a situation where the king would eventually get benefit of transcendental knowledge. Narad Muni and Angira they said, now you're experiencing the misery of one who has sons and daughters. Yeah. This is a very interesting comment. Sometimes we think, oh, yes, we got children, we're happy, they're looking after us. But actually, it can turn into a very miserable situation. Because in this material world, things happen. And even father and son, mother and daughter, and vice versa, they can fall out. And even if they are together and they're happy, there's something called attachment. If the parents are attached to the children, then they will remain in this material world. So in either way you look at it, it's a miserable situation if we don't have knowledge and understanding. One's kingdom, friends, family, etc., are all causes of fear, lamentation, illusion, distress, because they are all temporary. The body itself is a source of miseries. Try to understand your real position with a steady mind, and you will be able to give up attachment and obtain peace. Try to understand your real position, and you will be able to give up attachment. And when we give up attachment, we obtain peace. Narad then gave the king a mantra, which is the most auspicious, and told that in 7 nights, the king will be able to see the Lord face to face. And how in former times, Lord Shiva and other demigods took shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Shankarshan and immediately got free from the illusion of duality and achieved unequaled and unsurpassed glory in spiritual life. The king was assured he will achieve the same. So this is one of the most interesting aspects of this pastime, and I would say of the whole Bhagavad Puran, because we're going to see something extraordinary take place in a minute. There's the sages, Narada and Angira, there's the king, there's the queens, and there's the son, there's the boy. Suddenly he's alive. How is that possible? Chapter 16. The King Chitraketu meets his Supreme Lord. Seeing that it was difficult to stop the illusion of the grieving relatives by his mystic power, Narad brought the dead child to life, and he said to him, So Narad Muni, by his power, he gave life to the child. The soul was put back into the body. And Narad Muni said to the boy, just see your grieving parents. Accept the royal throne. Live your life. Basically saying, why did you die? Why did you leave the body? But the child replied, this is one of the most instructive parts of Bhagavatam. According to the results of my fruitive activities, I, the living entity, transmigrate from one body to another, sometimes going to the species of demigods, sometimes to the species of lower animals, sometimes amongst the vegetables, sometimes the human species. Therefore, in which birth were these my mother and father? What a question. Narad Muni is saying, look, your mother and father are crying. And the boy is saying, okay, tell me, in which birth were they my mother and father? I've had so many mothers and fathers. And no one is actually my mother and father. How can I accept these two people as my parents? In this world, no one is permanently related, just as gold passes amongst business people. The child speaks. It is the body that is born and dies, not the soul. Therefore, the soul has no relationship with the so-called mothers and fathers. The soul never takes birth nor dies. For the soul, there is no one who's dear, nor is anyone unfavorable. He is but an observer of different qualities of men. The Supreme Lord is independent, and the soul as his part, shares his qualities in minute quantity. Such wonderful instructions are given here. After the soul again left the body of the child, Chitraketu and his relatives were astonished. They cut off their affection, giving up their lamentation. Ashamed, the wives who had poisoned this child lost their bodily luster and went to bathe in the Yamuna to atone for their sins, giving up their ambition of having children. Chitraketu became free from the illusion of happiness in mature life, in family life, and offered respects to Narad and Angira. So this pastime is so instructive, especially to those who are parents. Undue attachment will be a cause of lamentation. Narad then gave Chitraketu mantras glorifying the Lord as Chaturvyu. Om Namo Tubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumna Ya Niradaya Nama Sankarsanaya Cha. O Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are addressed by the Omkar Pranav, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. O Lord Vasudev, I meditate upon you. O Pradyumna, Lord Aniruddha, Lord Shankarasan, I offer my respectful obeisances. Narad explains the position of the Lord as the supreme controller of the senses, source of unlimited forms and impersonal Brahman, unapproachable by words and mind of the conditioned soul. When infused with a particle of consciousness, the body, senses, living force, mind, and intelligence, although material, can function in their activities. Narad offers obeisances to the Lord, whose lotus feet are massaged by pure devotees. After Narad and Angira left for Brahmlok, Chitraketu fasted and drank only water for 1 week, carefully chanting the mantra given to him. After 1 week, he became the king of the Vyadadharas as a side effect of his spiritual advancement. Within a few days, Chitraketu, with an increasingly enlightened mind, attained shelter of the lotus feet of Anantadev, Sankarsan. He saw the Lord as whitish, dressed in bluish garments. So this is like Balaram, first incarnation of Balaram. with the smiling face and reddish eyes. He was surrounded by exalted, liberated souls, like the four Kumaras. As tears of love fell from his eyes, washing the Lord's lotus feet, Chitraketu was at first unable to offer any prayers as his voice was choked with ecstasy. Finally, he recovered his speech and he offered prayers to the Lord. So this is a wonderful painting depicting this exact scene that was described. How the Lord in his blue garments, beautiful effulgence, and surrounded by the devotees like the four Kumaras, appeared before Chitraketu, who with his tears washed the lotus feet of the Lord. Chitraketu prayed, O unconquerable Lord, you are conquered by the devotees who have no material desires. You exist in the beginning, middle, and end of everything, though you have no beginning, middle, or end. You are called Ananta because unlimited universes exist within you. Animal-like men thirsty for sense enjoyment worship various demigods and not you. However, the benedictions received from those demigods are destroyed when the demigods are destroyed. So this is the point. If we worship the devatas, their fruits are temporary and limited. If we worship the Supreme Lord, then that is eternally in our benefit. Even motivated worship to you destroys samsara. So even if we want something from God and we worship him, that's fine. Even that will get us out of this world. Devotees who have no desires accept the process of Bhagavad Dharma to achieve shelter at your lotus feet. They are all Krishna conscious, thinking that they are Krishna's and Krishna is theirs. My obeisance is to you who hold all the universes on your head like a bunch of mustard seeds. So this is Ananta Shesh. He does that. On his hood are all the universes. Lord Anantadev spoke. Because you have followed Narada's instructions, you have now attained perfection in transcendental knowledge and are able to see me. I appear in two transcendental forms which are not material, the deity and the transcendental sound, mantras and scriptures. So when we have darshan of the deity, we should understand this is God. When we're chanting the Mahamantra especially, we should think we are actually with God. The jiva thinks he is the enjoyer of the material world, and the material world is expanded as a source of enjoyment for the jivas. Since this material world and the living entities are both my energies, I pervade them, and they both rest in me. A human being in Bharatvarsh can attain perfection through the Vedic literatures and its practical application. In such a position, if one attains self-realization, it is not possible in any other position. In such a position, one attains. If one doesn't attain self-realization, it is not possible in any other position. So this is our opportunity. We have this opportunity now to make the most of it. A husband and wife plan together for happiness, but because they have material desires, they get only unhappiness. One should become a devotee by understanding the activities of persons who are proud of their material experience bring only results contrary to those persons such persons conceive while awake, sleeping and deeply sleeping. So if we try to get something positive from this world, it will not be positive. It will be negative because everything ends in this world. Time destroys everything. One can become a devotee by understanding that the spirit soul, although very difficult for the materialist to perceive, is above all these conditions. The strength of one's discrimination, one should give up the desire for fruitive results in the present life and in the next. Become experienced in transcendental knowledge. The Supreme Absolute Person and the living entity are one in quality, in their relationship as part in the whole. One who knows this and applies it to his life can attain the Supreme Lord's abode. O king, if you accept this conclusion of mine, being unattached to material enjoyment, adhering to me with great faith, thus becoming proficient and fully aware of knowledge and its practical application in life, you will achieve the highest perfection by attaining me. Sukadeva Goswami continued. After thus instructing Chitraketu and assuring him of perfection in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Spiritual Master, the Supreme Soul, Sankarasan, disappeared from that place as Chitraketu looked on. So this is the conclusion of chapter 16. These are 3 glorious chapters. Any questions? Any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One thing, I know Krishna and Balram are the same, but usually we see that normally Vishnu comes when such things, when he wants to appear before the devotee.
Yeah.
Any particular reason that Shankarasan has appeared in this episode?
Yes, because the mantra that Narad gave him was is to glorify Sankarasan. And the reason he gave him that was because Lord Shiva is also a devotee actually of Sankarasan. So he wanted Chitraketu to experience the same bliss as Lord Shiva was receiving by worshipping Shankarasan. So that's why Shankarasan appeared. Yes, otherwise, generally speaking, Lord Vishnu comes in his different forms before the devotee, especially because the demigods, they go to, Shirodakshaya Vishnu on Shvetadvip, and that's why he appears. But he can appear as Krishna or Balaram or Sankarasan if the devotees, if they have this intense love and affection for him. Yes.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you're absolutely right. Throughout the Bhagavatam, we'll see how the Lord Vishnu comes, generally speaking, to the devotees. Good observation, Nariman.
Very powerful chapter, isn't it? Very powerful. I mean, this is what we all are achieving for. That
Yes.
this life, material life is temporary.
Yes. Yes.
Very powerful chapter.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
No, thank you. This is such a strong, it's I have to say, it's one of the ones that really wakes you up, Whoa. It's a really good series of chapters, and it continues still. So, which you hopefully will see tomorrow. Okay. Anybody else? Yes,
Yeah.
Subramanian?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I think I missed one bit. I mean, I was just doing a little bit washing.
Okay.
When you said Chitraketu had, like, did you say 10 million wives?
I know, 10 million wives.
Yes.
Yes, very hard for us to understand that. Oh, believe it even.
Okay. Then you said, because then nobody had the children. I heard that. Then you said that then the son was born. So
what
who
happened?
gave the birth?
Angira Muni, he came at that time and he saw Chitraketu was very sad.
Yes.
And he said to Chitraketu, why are you so sad?
Yes.
Chitraketu said, I have a big kingdom, I have so many wives, I have no children.
Yes.
And if I have no children, how will me and my ancestors be saved from hell? And who will run the kingdom? So then Angira, he said, okay, I will do a yagya for you to give you a son. And from that yagya came some sweet rice, kheer.
Yes.
He gave that kheer to the first queen of Chitraketu.
Yes.
Her name was Krita Duti. And she ate it and she gave birth to a son. So that is what happened. And Angira said to the king, this son will give you great joy, but also great unhappiness.
Yes, I got it now. And then afterwards,
Yes.
other queen gave him a poison.
That's
and
it.
he passed away. Then after that, Narad Muni and Angira came back, and they gave. He was born for a little bit, and he said, "Look, all the family is crying for you." Then he said, "There was too many lives before, too many parents," and that's true because that does come in the
Yeah.
Gita ji, that
Yeah.
we have got so many lives before
That's
we are born now. And
That's-
it is same thing. Our parents, what our parents is died now, but
Mhm.
our soul has been parents to so many
Yeah.
birth before,
Mhm.
and that is true.
Very true. Yes.
That's very true, and very interesting, but
Yes.
it's difficult to understand still.
Difficult to put into practice.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Anyway, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji,
Thank you.
and really enjoyed today.
Thank you.
Satsang.
No, thank you for understanding it and also, giving your feedback. So it was good. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki jai, Sankarshan.
Oh, one more question.
Yes.
I know I finished, but I just wanted, did the son then die straight up again?
Yeah, he left.
Oh, he left then. Okay. All right. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay.